We're going to move on to time management with Alisa. She is from Sift and Sprinkle. It's a home bakery here in Des Moines. Her background is event and sports management, and she worked 12 years doing social media, sales, guest services, ticketing, and account management in Chicago, New Orleans, and Des Moines. In 2020, she was laid off from her job in events, and her stress relief was making macarons. I feel ya. Friends started to ask to purchase them, and a business idea was born. She dedicated her newfound time off to improving photography skills and making the most of the growing following she had on Instagram. Many of the skills from website management to social media marketing have come in handy as she ventures into this world of entrepreneurship. Time management has been a vital part of her career in events, leading workshops and sessions that focus on maximizing available resources, automation, and time management's best practices. She's excited to share the research she's done and the tools she uses to fit productivity into the time frame you choose. And I can tell you, if you see some of the amount of work Alisa gets done in a week, you'll know that she's got a time management pro. So I will hand it over to her, and here we are, time management with Alisa.
Great. Thank you, Holly, so much. It's been really fun to get to know Holly, so it was cool that you introduced me. I think you guys are all seeing my page, so I'm just going to try and keep my little picture up there in the corner. So time management, and I think that a lot of what Christina talked about is really going to feed into this, but I think that time management is an effective, is essential to a productive workday and to meaningful free time, which I think is the key. So whether you're working from home or away from home, really the goal today is for you to be able to fit your work into the schedule that you choose, so you can enjoy the things that don't pay the bills, like your friends, your family, and really some quality alone time. There we go. So I am a master procrastinator. I just am. The more work that I have to do, the more my body just wants to sit on the couch and do nothing. It kind of becomes a game. You know, I'll sit there until 8:10. Oh, well, it's 8:11, so I guess I'll have to wait until 8:15 to get started on this. But you catch yourself on the phone, you catch yourself sitting, looking out the window, you know, spying on your neighbors. You find other things to do that aren't what you need to get done, and you kind of find yourself wasting your time. So some things that I like to do to combat my main thing, which is procrastination, is the 5-second rule. So not, you know, you drop your food on the ground, pick it up within 5 seconds. That's not the 5-second rule that I'm talking about. So Mel Robbins has a book that explores this 5-second rule, and it says that if you have an instinct to act on a goal, you must physically move within 5 seconds or your brain is going to kill that instinct. So the moment that you feel an instinct or a desire to act on a goal or a commitment, you need to use that rule. Start counting. You know, my daughter knows once I start counting to 5, she has to do something within those 5 seconds. Neither one of us know what's going to happen if I get to 5. Truthfully, we've never gotten there. She's almost 5. We've never gotten to 5. But she knows she has 5 seconds to move once I start counting. So I encourage you guys, stand up and move within 5 seconds, or it's going to become more difficult the more you sit and the more you think about it. You have to be that external force that we're going to talk about a little bit later that switches you from sitting to standing to moving to the kitchen. Just start counting. The second thing is Newton's first law, and it says that a body in motion will stay in motion. So that's inertia. I mean, some of us probably remember that from high school, but a body at rest is going to stay at rest, and then a body in motion is going to stay in motion unless acted on by that net external force, which is what I was talking about. So within those 5 seconds, be that net external force to get up off of your chair, to, you know, stand up and move to the kitchen, move to your computer, whatever it is that you need to do within those 5 seconds, whatever that urge is that you have. Get up and be that net external force. Another thing that I always do is to get the dirty done first. So likely you're procrastinating something that you don't really feel like doing, which is what I typically do. But there's something that you might be really excited about doing as well. I encourage you to get that thing that you don't feel like doing done first. For me, it's pie crust. I just don't enjoy making pie crust. Gets under my fingernails. You know, I have to put on gloves to do it. I hate it. Not something that I enjoy doing. So if I get that done, the rest of my day is a breeze. But if I don't, it's going to loom over me all day, and I'm going to think about how I need to do pie crust all day. And the last technique that I like to use to get over my urge to procrastinate is to set a timer for 25 minutes. So there's a technique called the Pomodoro technique, and it says to take a 5-minute break for every 25 minutes of work. So 25 minutes is a good amount of time that you can stay focused based on this research. So give yourself a 25-minute timer, literally set your phone for 25 minutes to get something done that you've procrastinated. Once that 25 minutes are up, you can stop. If you're not prepared to finish this activity, you can stop what you're doing after those 25 minutes. And that's going to trick your brain into getting up and moving, because you can really do anything for 25 minutes. But really, once you're moving, your body might want to stay moving. You might be interested in continuing to work on what you were doing. But if not, again, you've given yourself an out. But now we're going to do a little activity. If you have a piece of paper and a pen, or if you just want to open up a page and use it. So take out that piece of paper. I'll give you guys a half second to do that, and then I'll explain what we're doing, because I don't want you to overthink it. All right, so I'm going to start a timer, and you guys are going to write numbers 1 through 26, and letters, let me get the stopwatch, and letters A through Z. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down to 26, A, B, C, D, down to Z. All right. So I'm going to start you right now. All right, so I'm done. And it was 40 seconds. Let me see if I can get the chat in here. Are you guys done too? Anybody want to drop me a chat and let me know that you're done? Done. Joe's done. Holly's done. All right. So now we're going to move. It took us 40 seconds to do that. Now we're going to do 1A, 2B, 3C, all the way to Z. All right, all the way to 26Z. So I'm going to reset and start now. And let me know when you guys are done with this. All right, I'm getting a couple dones. Done. All right, so that took about 55 seconds. So what this activity highlights is what is my very favorite topic ever. And if I can get to the next page, switch tasking. Okay, switch tasking I talk about way more than I should. So switch tasking is that your brain wants to continue counting or continue writing your ABCs. And if you're forced to think back and forth, it's kind of the way that if you're working on a project and somebody stops in your office to talk about an interdepartment collaboration or your email dings, you look at the preview and you're trying to decide whether you want to respond, and then you kind of switch back to what you were doing. You have to gather yourself, figure out what you're doing. That's switch tasking, going back and forth between two tasks. So multitasking is something that employers want us to think is incredibly valuable, but it is not. It's not that valuable. It wastes time. So an individual with excellent time management skills will tell you that it is more valuable to give your undivided attention to one project than to be constantly switching between three. And I know, as home bakers, as entrepreneurs, as businesses ourselves, it's not always possible. But here are a few things that you can do to try and avoid switch tasking. So shut off your notifications. I know that we are all very anxious about letting people sit as business owners. It's crucial to be available to talk to people. But I'm telling you right now, if you have a customer who can't wait for 25 minutes for you guys to get the task that you're doing done, I don't know that's going to be a customer that you're going to want. That's going to be a customer that is going to take away time when you're trying to have free time. That's a customer that's going to expect a response right away when you're trying to do other things. So your time is just as valuable as any others, and that the time that gets taken away from you when you stop what you're doing to respond to somebody, that's taking away your money. So I like to set a tone with people that I'm not going to be available 24/7. My free time is mine, and my work time is also mine. So I don't respond to emails during my free time or during my working time. I respond once or twice a day to all of my business DMs, my orders, my emails, etc. And in the time that I've been doing this, I have lost one customer because of it. It took me 2 hours to respond to a DM to them on Instagram, and she found somebody else, which is fine with me because my business model does not rely on me responding that quickly. And the time that it would have taken me to respond to that would have taken away the profit that I would have made by taking that order. But if your business model does rely on you responding quickly, I completely understand that and I respect that. But you also have to understand that that's going to leak into your family time, your free time, your shower time, and you have to accept that as well. So if you're looking for, a career or additional income that you are in control of, which is what I think a lot of us are doing, we need to set a tone that you'll respond in a reasonable amount of time, but not immediately. Another thing that I do is I block out time on my calendar. I have a shared calendar. Mondays are kind of my head down days. My husband knows I'm probably not going to be available for a phone call. And our shared Google Calendar is blocked off. If you're working in an office setting, or if you're working with multiple people and you share your calendar, just block off that time. You don't have to say what you're doing, block it off. And I'll kind of show you guys what my time blocking looks like in a minute. And then another thing is to hang a sign. So if you remember your AOL message, my go-to was always just a BRB, I'll leave it overnight, just BRB. But if you work in a shared space and you struggle with people coming by to chat, hang a sign that says you're busy until 11. Give them a time that says I will be available at this time. I used to hang one at my work that said that I was pumping. I was. for about 6 months, but I kept that sign because people would respect that sign. But it could be any sign. Just put up a sign that says, I am busy, but this is when I'm going to be free. I think I'm in charge of the waiting room here, so got to let people in. All right, so time blocking. I'm going to move my little face here. So you can kind of see here the time blocking. If we go back to the Pomodoro technique, it says take 5-minute breaks every 25 minutes of work. There's also a study by the Jogheim group that says that the ideal work rhythm is 52 minutes followed by a 17-minute break. So you can kind of play with those two different options and see which of those works better for you, but they're both based on science and the way that our brains work. So I encourage you guys to at least give those two a try. So 25 minutes followed by 5 minutes, or 17 or 52 followed by 17-minute break. During your break, take a walk around the block, fill your glass with water, set a new timer, set 25 or 52 minutes on Spotify, whatever it's going to take for you to kind of get your mind off of what you're doing, give your brain a break. I encourage you to not get on like social media, because inevitably that's going to take more than 5 or 17 minutes. And I hate to be that person to say, like, don't get on social media, but you have to know yourself. If you know that you can get off within 5 or 17 minutes, fine, go ahead and do that. I also encourage, if you can see on here, that I have scheduled in, and this is the schedule that I use. This is my to-do list. So I know that I have to drop my daughter off during this little time frame, 7:30. And then I get home around 8. I've scheduled in a little free time this morning. Yesterday, you can see that I scheduled in baking, filling, frosting, practicing the seminar. I scheduled in my lunch. I scheduled in a little free time. I scheduled in cleaning, which is a key for me to schedule in cleaning, or I'm going to work up until the very last second. But you can just see kind of how I've mapped out my day. Some things to keep in mind. Like I said, get that dirty done first. Put the things that you're not that excited about doing at the very top. Think about what temperature the oven needs to be, and maximize the size, the things that can fit in your oven if you're baking. If you have more than one thing that needs to be at 350, see how much of that you can fit in your oven and still have a great product. Think about your oven backup. That's one thing for me. If I only have a certain amount of space in my fridge or in my oven, I need to think about that. So you can see yesterday I did the cakes that I knew would fit in the oven, and then I did some things that didn't need to fit in the oven while those things baked. So I like to schedule in those things. And like I said, schedule in your lunch, your dishes, schedule in going to get your groceries. So there is this law that says, the Parkinson's law says that your work is going to expand as to fill the available time for its completion. So if you have a project that takes 4 hours, it typically takes 4 hours, and you have 6 hours to do it, you're going to play with that project until those 6 hours are up, typically. However, conversely, if you have a job that takes 6 hours and you only have 4 hours to do it, there's a good chance that you're going to fit everything that you need to do into that amount of time. So you need to keep that in mind. I like to estimate the minimum amount of time that it's going to take me to decorate a cake, for example, and schedule that in. That way I'm not going to overthink my design. I'm going to get it done within that time. And sometimes you just have to know that some things need to be done perfectly and some things just need to be done. And a lot of us are artists. And when we say that the art is done, the art is done. So the final thing on this list of my time blocking is that I like to have a 10-minute list. So I have everything blocked out by 30 minutes because that's 25 minutes plus my 5 minutes. And then I like to have a list of 10-minute things. because inevitably something is not going to take that entire time. You can see on Wednesday, I had making macarons for an hour. I know that these yellow macarons are not going to take the entire hour. I may have 10 or 15 minutes in there, which I could start the new activity, or I could get something done from my 10-minute list. So it's things like wiping down the inside of my fridge, unloading the dishwasher, folding boxes, switching the laundry, making doctor's appointments. These are things that I will eventually need to do. And if I can fit them into the time where I would typically be browsing the internet or something like that, it's going to save me time in the long run. So I do have just a few more little points, my bonus tips that didn't really fit in my segments, but I thought that they were really important. So we need to protect our yeses, which is something that I think that Christina touched on before this, but you have to know the worth of your time, and you have to be okay saying no sometimes when you're not going to be paid what you're worth. And you have to break that down and see what you will be paid hourly and see if it's worth that time. Because if I said yes to something that is not going to be worth my time in a month, I'm not going to have that time for someone else to come in and offer me more money for my time. So I want to leave that time available for people to come in and pay me what I'm worth for things. So you have to allow space. I always say you have to allow space for monetary success. And if you fill your space with things that are not going to be successful monetarily, it's not going to leave that space for the monetary success. Automation, I could give an entire seminar on automation. My dream is to make money while I'm sleeping. If you have an email that you send often, make a template. If you're writing out your confirmations every time, you are wasting your time. You need to have a template for that. Fill in the template with the name and what they ordered. If you can find a program that will send out your confirmation emails for you, if you can find any sort of program that will automate your life, you need to do some number crunching and figure out how much time in your week, in your month, in your year that will save. And then if it's worth it, buy that program, because then you're leaving space in the future for monetary success. Decision fatigue is another thing that I particularly struggle with, but it's this psychological phenomenon, and it's around a person's capacity to make decisions. The theory is that the human's ability to make decisions gets worse after making more decisions. Your brain becomes more fatigued. So if I spend my day making decisions about the bakery, or the days that I'm home with my kids and I'm making these decisions, my husband comes home and is like, what should we have for dinner? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's been working all day, and he's been making decisions all day, so he can't choose what's for dinner. So make your decisions earlier in the morning if you can. Make those decisions, the big decisions that you can make earlier in the day. Then you're not going to find yourself thinking about it all day. And my last point, I tried to keep this to 25 minutes so we can have our 5 minutes of rest after this. But my last point is, if I'm hustling, it's because someone is chasing me. I'm so done with the word hustle. We, as a group here, we work smarter, not harder. We take vacations. We can relax on the weekends. We can watch Netflix at night. We have time for dinner with friends. We're not always rushing somewhere, because we have fit our job or our side gig, we have fit our business into the time that we've allowed for it. We are in control of the time that we work. The money that we're making is funding our lives, and we don't have time for our lives, then what is the point of all this work that we're doing? So that is my time management. That's it. That was the last screen. I thought I had a goodbye, thank you, but yes, goodbye, thank you. This was really enjoyable to share the things that I'm really passionate and excited about. I've always said, like, I'm a fast baker, but I think that it's more than just being a fast baker. I think that I use my time wisely, and I plan The time blocking that I do that every Sunday night. And then at the end of every day, during my cleaning time, I go back and look at the next day and make sure that it is, everything is fit in there well. So the time that I take planning saves me time in the long run.